Divinely revealed, you have just manifested a sacred miracle most would fail to recognize. The village of Whittle, lit by the waning light of dusk and cradled by the gentle embrace of the rolling hills, was a place where daily blessings were counted like coins in a mighty treasury. Amid this peaceful scene, Mary, a devoted single mother, gathered her children, Thomas and Emily, around their sturdy kitchen table each night to pray. With fervent hearts, they would call upon Saint Joseph, whose statue stood watch by their fireplace, imploring divine help for Thomas, whose body was worn thin by a rare and debilitating illness, but tonight, a weight hung in the air, heavy with unspoken fears. The flicker of candlelight cast dancing shadows, as a sudden chill swept through the cozy room. Just then, Pastor Jonathan entered, his brow furrowed, and his presence bursting with a heavenly charge. "Mary," he said, breathless as though he had crossed a celestial threshold, "you've manifested a sacred miracle most would fail to recognize." Mary's heart thudded with both trepidation and hope. "A miracle?" she whispered, eyes wide with a blend of disbelief and yearning. The pastor spoke of visions, of divine whispers carried on the breeze. He claimed that God had chosen her family to showcase his wonders, to reignite faith in their village, the very essence of their recently dwindling hope. The following days unfurled in a haze of anticipation. The community buzzed with mixed sentiments. Some shared Mary's excitement, while others cast skeptical glances, murmuring doubts that struck at the heart. Yet Mary held fast, desperate for a miracle, even as the doctor's somber updates weighed on her like a dark cloud. In a moment of anguish, she sank to her knees one evening, tears pooling at her feet. "Lord," she cried out, "if there is indeed hope, reveal it. Show me a sign that my faith has roots and can withstand this storm." Just then, a rustling sound filled the room, causing her to gasp. The flickering candlelight transformed, illuminating a dazzling figure, a radiant angel, woven from starlight and grace, standing before her. "My child," the angel spoke, wrapping her in warmth, "your prayers are not in vain. The heavens rejoice in your unwavering faith. Miracles will come, not just for you and Thomas, but for all who would believe." As the angel's words sank into Mary's heart, a glow washed over her, replacing despair with an unshakable joy. Turning from the divine encounter, she rushed to Thomas, who slept fitfully in his room. The morning sun spilled through the window, casting golden rays that kissed his forehead. But something remarkable was unfolding. As she observed, his face took on a glow, radiating vitality that seemed to wash away the shadows of his illness. Mary cried out in disbelief, a mix of joy and bewilderment bubbling within her. As the village buzzed with news of what they deemed a miracle, Mary stood at the center of this miraculous storm, hearts eager for a glimpse of faith yet burdened by skepticism. Would they embrace the divine, or would doubt keep them shackled? Mary realized now that this journey was about more than her son's healing. It was a test of belief for the whole village. The echoes of joy and confusion danced through Whittle, leaving everyone poised on the edge of either divine acceptance or lingering skepticism. As they faced the reality of what had unfolded, Mary braced herself for the next chapter, a journey that would challenge their understanding of faith and unveil the divine mystery woven into the fabric of their lives. The story was only beginning, yet it begged the question: would they dare to believe in the miracle they had so desired? As dawn broke over Whittle, the air was thick with anticipation. Birds sang in the crisp morning light, but the true symphony came from the excited whispers of neighbors, converging on Mary's home to catch a glimpse of the miracle that had everyone buzzing. Mary sat quietly at the table, her heart racing from the mingled emotions of joy and apprehension. The golden light poured through the window, but it was not nearly as bright as the glow she witnessed on Thomas' face just hours before. Thomas stirred in his bed, his breaths now even, a peaceful serenity that Mary had nearly forgotten existed. With each passing moment, she felt hope swell within her like an unyielding tide, pushing against the rocks of doubt that had built up around her heart. She thought of the angel's words, "Miracles will come for all who would believe." Mary resolved to take that power of belief into the village. She called her children to her side, and together they prepared for the day, gathering the remnants of their breakfast, a simple plate of toast and glazed fruit that felt like a feast in light of their recent turmoil. As Emily clutched her mother's hand, the warmth radiated love that was tangible, stirring the hearts of all in the room. "Mommy, is Thomas better now?" the little girl asked, her innocent eyes wide with curiosity. Mary knelt down beside her, meeting Emily's gaze. "He is healing, my love, and our faith is what makes that happen." With renewed purpose, they stepped outside, the chill of the morning air giving way to the sun's embrace. As Mary and her children walked through the streets, crowds gathered, faces etched with wonder and skepticism. Pastor Jonathan joined them, his presence a steady anchor amidst the rising tide of whispers. "The Lord is good," he exclaimed, raising his voice to call attention. "He has shown us a sign, a miracle right here among us." For some, his declaration ignited sparks of faith. Eyes brightened, and hands clasped in prayer. Yet there remained others, anchored by skepticism. "It's just a coincidence," one neighbor mumbled aloud, shaking her head at the unfolding spectacle. The tension wound tighter with every passing moment, creating a palpable atmosphere of expectancy. It was at that moment Thomas emerged from the house, standing at the threshold as if bathed in divine light. A gasp escaped the lips of the gathered crowd, a collective intake of breath as disbelief slowly faded away, leaving room for wonder in its wake. "Thomas!" Mary cried, her heart swelling with pride and love. "Mother, I'm better," he declared, stepping forward with surprising strength. "I can feel it. God has heard our prayers." His face glowed with a vitality that reflected not only the miracle of his healing but the restoration of hope for the entire village. Eyes filled with tears more often seen in sacred gatherings than in this quiet village, Pastor Jonathan beamed. "Let this moment remind us that miracles exist. They live in our faith, our prayers, and in every act of love." The murmurs grew louder, hearts beginning to open beneath the weight of the miracle unfolding before them. Just then, an elderly woman stepped forward through the crowd, her voice trembling yet resolute. "What if we've been too blind to see every blessing around us?" The weight of her question hung in the air thick with emotion. "What will it take for us to open our eyes?" Mary felt a shiver run through her spirit at this poignant insight, resonating deep within. How often had she herself overlooked the blessings in her life, seeking only the grand gestures while neglecting the simple miracles? As the sun rose higher, illuminating the gathering in a soft golden hue, Mary realized this was the beginning not just for Thomas but for everyone in Whittle. With renewed fervor, she spoke to the crowd, "We stand on the cusp of a greater journey. Miracles are here, but we must cultivate the soil of our faith. Are we ready to nurture it together?" As she shared her heart, she was met with varied responses, a mix of enthusiasm and hesitation, each face revealing the inner struggles of belief. Yet Mary felt a stirring deep within, like the first rays of dawn breaking the dark night. Would their hearts truly open to receive the abundance of divine blessings waiting for them? With the weight of their stories and struggles hanging in the air, the question lingered, as each soul braced for the next chapter: would they choose to embrace the miracles unfolding before them? As hope pulsated through the village of Whittle, the atmosphere transformed. Mary could feel the collective heartbeat of curiosity and fear as the crowd began exchanging fleeting glances. Faces that had once been hardened were softening, illuminated by the lessons written in their hearts. Some whispered among themselves, while others silently pondered the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Thomas, once fragile and confined to his bed, stood among them, a symbol of renewed life. His eyes sparkled with purpose, and as he looked at the gathered souls before him, he felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. "It is not just my healing that matters," Thomas declared, his voice steady and clear. "It is ours. Together, we must open our hearts and minds. Let the miracles flow like the rivers of God's love." At his words, a ripple of emotion surged through the crowd, igniting quiet murmurs of agreement and soft nods. Mary felt an electric hum between her and those present, a shared pulse that united them in this moment. It was as if the walls of doubt were crumbling, and each footstep of faith helped to clear the rubble. Pastor Jonathan stepped forward again, lifting his hands as if reaching for the heavens. "Listen closely, Dear friends, miracles do not reside in grand gestures alone, they also flourish in the simplest acts of kindness, in our willingness to believe. His passionate conviction resonated deeply, echoing through the hearts of everyone who heard. Suddenly, Emily broke the momentary silence that followed, her little voice cutting through the weight of the air. If we pray, will God make more miracles happen? Innocent and genuine, her question was a beacon that touched even the most guarded souls. Indeed, my child. Pastor Jonathan replied, kneeling down to meet her wide-eyed gaze. When we pray with sincerity and unite as one, we invite God's presence into our lives. We ignite the flame of hope. Inspired by their small conversation, Mary felt compelled to share her own experience. Faith is like a seed, she began, her voice trembling slightly. It may seem small, but planted in the right place, it grows into something magnificent. If we all take a moment to reflect on our lives, we can identify so many seeds of blessings waiting for us to nurture them. The crowd listened intently, as if Mary had uncovered a buried treasure within their hearts. Slowly, faces transformed from skepticism to reverence. The elderly woman who had questioned earlier stepped forward again, tears glistening in her eyes. I have seen miracles in my life, the laughter of a child, the warmth of a neighbor's gesture. Yet, I often took them for granted. As she spoke, others began voicing their own experiences, moments of providence and grace, small victories that had felt otherwise insignificant. One by one, people began to weave their stories into the fabric of the moment, creating a tapestry of faith amidst questions, doubts, and hope. Mary could feel the atmosphere thickening with the energy of shared vulnerability. It was one thing to witness a miracle, but it was another to realize that each of them carried the potential for miracles themselves. Are we prepared to remain open? Asked Thomas, voice resonating with certainty. To witness the overflow of blessings in the simplest moments of our everyday lives? Around him, people responded in whispers of yes and amen, as belief began to blossom anew. An invisible alignment had formed among them, a sacred connection binding them to one another, and to the divine. With relentless fervor flowing within her, Mary addressed the crowd once more. Let us remember that the greatest miracles happen when we find unity in love. Bound together, we can construct a future rich in faith and overflowing with blessings. As cheers erupted, Mary felt overwhelming gratitude wash over her, mingling with a dawning realization. They were on the brink of something tremendous. This awe-inspiring moment was not merely the end of one story but a prelude to many more, urging them to seek and recognize the treasures right before their eyes. But in the depths of her heart, a profound question emerged: could they sustain this newfound belief in the days to come? Would they remain humble enough to see and embrace all that the divine had in store for them? The sun climbed higher, casting a radiant glow. The scent of blooming flowers filled the air, but the true aroma of transformation lingered. With hearts eager for the next miracle, they stood poised for what was yet to come. How would their faith be tested in the trials ahead? Would they carry the light or let it flicker and fade? The day wore on, and the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. The village square buzzed with renewed energy and determination. Hands that once clung to doubt now reached out to one another, offering comfort and strength. It was a delicate dance of renewed purpose, each movement instilling a sense of urgency for what awaited them. Thomas remained at the center, his heart swelling as he witnessed the awakening around him. He felt tethered to every soul in the crowd, and he marveled at how quickly transformation could happen when hearts aligned. With a breath of gratitude, he raised his voice once more. Friends, Thomas began, we have seen the light today. Let us not allow the shadows of our past to dim our future. We are standing on sacred ground, marked by faith. Just as the sun rises every day, so too can our hope rise anew. Such words seemed to ignite a spark within those who listened. A wave of encouragement swept over the gathered crowd, breaking through barriers they had built over the years. They responded with a chorus of Amen and Hallelujah. Voices blending into one another, a harmonious symphony of belief. Mary looked around and felt her spirit lift. Still, a weighty thought lingered in her heart. What if they stumbled? What if the glow of faith began to fade with the passing days? She couldn't shake the unease that danced on the edges of her mind. But even with uncertainty, a voice whispered within her a call to action, a plea to embrace whatever followed. "Let us gather here again," she said, suddenly feeling the urge to lead. "Every week, we will come together to share our stories and lift one another in prayer. In this unity, we shall find strength that can withstand any trial." Her words resonated with the villagers, who began to nod in agreement. "Yes. Let us do this together." A man called from the back, his voice rich with enthusiasm. Pastor Jonathan stepped forward once more, a twinkle in his eye. "I believe there is power in shared prayer. Let us commit to a time of devotion and reflection. Imagine what wonders can unfold when we but join together in faith." Excitement rippled through the crowd. Ideas began to flow. Some envisioned prayer circles in homes, while others spoke of community gatherings centered around worship. Joy filled the air, brightening faces like fireflies dancing in twilight. Yet amidst the joy, Mary couldn't help but notice a flicker of doubt in some of the elder faces. She sought them out, her heart aching for their unspoken fears. "What troubles you?" she asked gently, reaching for the older woman who had previously shared her own miracles. "I have lived many seasons," the woman replied, her voice trembling. "Faith means inviting the unknown. What if we fall back into despair? What if our prayers go unanswered?" Mary offered a soft smile. "But isn't that the beauty of faith?" she said, urgency rising in her chest. "It grows in uncertainty. The strength to believe despite our fears is exactly what unites us. Whether times are good or challenging, we must lean on each other. That is how miracles flourish." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, yet the light in their hearts burned bright. Slowly, the woman's apprehension began to fade, and even others who sat in silence started to lean closer, nodding in understanding. Mary turned her gaze to Thomas, who met her eyes fully. They both understood that the true miracle of the day was not merely Thomas' healing, but the awakening of community of hearts linked in resilience, in faith. But as they prepared to leave, a stillness enveloped the square. An unspoken instinct reverberated through them, a premonition that change was unyielding, and trials would come. As the villagers drifted homeward, Mary felt a stirring deep within her spirit, a profound yearning for what lay ahead. Would their faith hold strong when the winds of challenge blew their way? How would they navigate the rocky paths that were surely coming? With the last rays of sunlight embracing the village, one question lingered in the air: what would happen when their belief faced the fires of life? What miraculous strength existed within them, waiting to be revealed? The sky darkened as the first stars began to twinkle, but in the hearts of the villagers, a divine light began to shine brighter. Mary gazed up at the heavens, her spirit tingling with the undercurrent of possibility. Each star seemed to whisper promises of hope and reassurance. Just as the heavens held mysteries, so did their hearts waiting to be unlocked. The following days were crowded with activity. Every household resonated with preparations for the weekly gatherings Mary envisioned. Families began setting aside their concerns and dwelling on the blessings they shared. Together, they crafted prayers, and the air buzzed with testimonies illuminating moments of grace. On the appointed night, the square transformed into a beacon of light. Lanterns swung softly in the gentle breeze, illuminating eager faces. Mary stood at the forefront, her excitement palpable as she welcomed everyone to this sacred moment. "Tonight, we bear witness to our journey together," she declared, her voice unwavering. "Each prayer we share will be a seed sown into the soil of faith. Together, we can nurture a garden of hope and healing." Eager hands reached out, and stories began to flow. An elderly man spoke of a time when his daughter fell ill, and how the community rallied around him, keeping his faith alive until she was healed. Another shared how he found peace after losing a beloved job. Each account crossed the threshold of heart and spirit, knitting a tapestry of collective resilience. As the gathering blossomed, the air thickened with an unmistakable presence, a stirring of the divine. Corrosive fears began to fall away like autumn leaves, revealing hearts that shone vibrantly. It was not merely tales of triumph, they also acknowledged Shadow's unmet expectations, pain, and heartache. Yet, woven through each confession was a thread of unyielding faith. Faith is not the absence of doubt, Mary declared with conviction, her eyes scanning the faces before her. It is choosing to believe in light despite darkness. It is standing together on this sacred journey. People nodded, murmuring their agreement, voices rising like a wave of unity, merging into a chorus of affirmations. Mary felt a trembling in her spirit. This was more than a gathering, it was an awakening. With the evening deepening, Pastor Jonathan stood and raised his hands. Let us pray together for our village and ourselves, for the challenges that lie ahead. His voice flowed like a stream, calming and powerful at once. As they bowed their heads, a hush fell upon them. In this silence, Mary felt the weight of heaven pressing down, wrapping them in a blanket of peace. The collective heartbeat of the village resonated with the rhythm of faith, a harmonious melody that echoed through the darkness, but as they came to the end of their prayers, a strange unease washed over Mary. It was as if an unseen force stirred just beyond their grasp. What awaited them? She caught a glimpse of an elder woman gazing toward the forest surrounding the village with an expression that hinted at something unspoken, something urgent. Do not lose heart, Mary whispered softly, sensing a need to reassure those around her. Whatever challenges arise, together we shall conquer. Yet her own heart had begun to quicken. She felt this gathering was only the beginning. Days would fold into one another, and they would face trials, unseen yet undeniable. Shadows lingered at the edge of their newfound joy, a reminder that faith walks hand in hand with uncertainty. As the gathering dispersed, Mary held tightly to hope, a flicker of anxiety sparking within. What truths remained hidden in the shadows? The village embraced the night, but the question carved itself into her mind: what deeper revelations awaited them, just beyond the horizon? The days that followed felt like a deep breath before the plunge. Life in the village returned to its steady rhythm, but the atmosphere was charged. Each citizen carried an unspoken awareness, a knowing that something beyond the ordinary was gently unfolding, a sacred orchestration guided by divine hands. Mary moved through her daily chores, yet her heart remained tuned to the whispers of the Spirit. Every rustling leaf, every glimmer of sunlight caught her attention. Was it her alone who felt the sweet anticipation stirring in the air? On a particularly warm afternoon, as clouds drifted lazily across the azure sky, she found herself strolling down the path leading to the outskirts of the village. With each step, the sacred tension in her heart began to shift, morphing from anxiety into a thawing sense of expectation. The forest loomed ahead, its shadows speaking mysteries she yearned to explore. God, guide me, Mary prayed, the words floating softly into the breeze. The air felt thick with promise, almost electric, and each breath she took was pregnant with potential. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the silence. She turned to see the elder woman she had noticed during the gathering. The woman's name echoed in Mary's heart: Elda. Although frail, Elda possessed an undeniable strength. She appeared ethereal in the dappled light of the trees, as if she were part of the forest itself. Ah, Mary! Elda's voice was barely more than a whisper, yet it carried an ancient weight. There is something woven into the fabric of our village, a shift of spirit you sense, isn't it? It is time to unearth what lies hidden. Mary nodded, her pulse quickening. What do you see, Elda? What is it we must uncover? Elda drew closer, her eyes sparkling with a mix of wisdom and urgency. The unseen obstacles have manifested, but fear not. Our faith has already turned the soil. It will reveal the crop of hope we have planted. But courage and love must carry us there. As her words sank in, Mary's heart swelled with resolve. She understood now a profound revelation had begun the moment they gathered. Their truths, their shared faith, were unfolding like petals from a blooming flower, and what lay ahead was part of a divine plan. Together, we will face whatever comes, Mary declared, her voice steady. God's Spirit is with us, guiding us through. Elda smiled, her weathered hands reaching out to clasp Mary's in a gentle grasp. We must rally the village once more. They will need to understand the shadows, while daunting, are only illuminated for their brilliance to shine. Word spread quickly. That evening, villagers filled the square once more, curiosity and purpose etched on their faces. Mary stood before them, her heart full of passion and certainty. Beloved friends, we have officially witnessed the richness of our faith. Yet a challenge approaches. Let us confront it with love and unity, she implored, feeling a wave of energy lift around her. Hesitations melted into determination as they murmured among themselves. The divine shift they had felt now radiated throughout the crowd, weaving threads of hope, a vibrant tapestry unfolding in real time. Together we can stand tall, stronger than our doubts. Mary cried, her voice soaring high above them. But even as joy surged, a feeling of foreboding lingered in the air, a whisper of trials yet to come. In that very moment, a sudden chill swept through the crowd, a knowing that the heavens were not the only ones watching. Then, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and a collective gasp escaped the villagers. What unseen force was being summoned? Mary's heart raced. The future was a mystery wrapped in divine purpose. With faith as their foundation, what could they uncover together, even as the shadows danced more boldly around them? As the tremor subsided, Mary looked into the eyes of her community, one question echoing in her mind: would their faith be enough to weather the storm ahead? In the silence that followed the tremors, a stillness fell over the villagers. The air crackled with unasked questions and quivering hearts, as everyone turned to Mary for guidance. The flickering flames of the torches cast playful shadows, but the gravity of the moment weighed heavy. Mary could feel the pulse of her community, the tight-knit bonds woven by shared hopes and fears. Amid their worried murmurs, she knew the Spirit had ignited something essential within them. They were on the brink of transformation, yet she sensed they still wrestled with doubt. Friends, she began softly, this tremor, this change is not just an omen, it is a sign. A celestial call for us to rise together. Her voice grew stronger, allowing faith to emerge from within, like dawn breaking through the night. What we face ahead is daunting, yes, but our unity and love will cast out any shadows. Let us remember the power of our collective spirit, which can move mountains. As she spoke, something shifted in the crowd. Faces once shadowed by concern began to brighten with determination. The energy of hope began to swell, lifting spirits like a tide. Elda stood beside Mary, nodding in agreement, her eyes radiating strength. Yes. Elda added with fervor, let us illuminate these shadows. Trust that the divine is with us. With faith, we will find our path through the darkness that seeks to obscure it. As the gathering grew bolder in spirit, Mary led them into prayer, her heart attuned to their collective longing. Together, they formed a circle, hands clasped and voices raised in a chorus of requests for guidance and fortitude. With each heartfelt word, the presence of the divine enveloped them, wrapping them in warmth and sacred assurance. Suddenly, without warning, a golden light enveloped the village square. A collective hush fell upon them as they squinted into the brilliance. Mary's breath quickened. This radiance was unlike any she'd encountered before, rich and alive, vibrant with mystery. But it wasn't mere light, it felt like a conduit of divine love, a promise that they were not alone. In that moment, the village square transformed. It felt as if time itself had paused, allowing them to breathe in the divine essence. Mary closed her eyes, letting the warmth permeate her entire being. She could almost hear the whisper of God in her heart. Trust and have courage. As the glow receded, she opened her eyes to see tears glistening on many faces, not just from fear but from an overwhelming sense of faith being rekindled. Hearts were swelling with an inexplicable peace that washed over them like gentle waves. Mary turned to the villagers. This is our moment of truth, she declared with conviction. What lies ahead may test us, but remember, these changes signal rebirth. The promise of something new is unfolding. Will you choose to embrace it with love? The crowd erupted in an affirmation, voices rising with fervent, yes. They felt the spark igniting passions dormant for too long. But just as quickly, a shadow crossed their faces. The memory of the tremor lingered, a stark reminder of uncertainty. Elda moved forward, her voice rising above the buzzing excitement. Strength doesn't mean absence of fear. It means standing in the face of it and knowing we are cradled in divine love. Let us prepare for what is to come, friends. Mary nodded, feeling deep gratitude for Elda's words, yet unease stirred within her. There was still more to reveal, a greater truth waiting to be unveiled. What exactly was that unseen force that rattled their village? As the villagers began to discuss plans and visions, Mary's gaze drifted to the edge of the forest where the shadows seemed to linger, calling to her. A whisper tugged at her heart, beckoning her to explore deeper, to seek understanding. The mystery intensified, and she knew she would need to step into it. I will go into the forest, she declared, feeling a whisper of destiny. Her mind was made up. I must discover what lies beyond the shadows, what God wishes for us to know. As she set her path toward the forest, a chilling breeze swept in, carrying a familiar scent. She had come to recognize the scent of divine intrigue. What awaited her within those trees? Was it hope, fear, or perhaps something else entirely? Only God knew the answers, and she was ready to uncover them. Would she be able to face what awaited her in the shadows, or would it overwhelm her spirit? As she crossed the threshold into the unknown, Mary felt both fear and faith intertwining in a sacred dance. The forest stood tall and imposing, the trees whispering secrets in the wind as Mary stepped across the threshold. Each footfall sank into the cool earth, carrying with it both trepidation and courage. Shadows tangled around her, twisting and curling like living beings, yet there was a warmth that followed, a reminder of the golden light that had filled the village square. She paused, feeling the heartbeat of the forest. The air vibrated with unspoken truths, and she closed her eyes again, reaching out to the divine presence she felt surrounding her. Guide me, she breathed, knowing that she was not alone, that her faith was her compass. As she ventured deeper, the light waned, yet the familiar sense of hope wrapped around her like a protective cloak. It was then that she heard a soft, melodic sound drifting through the trees. It flickered through the air like fireflies on a summer night. The sound pulled at her heart, urging her to follow. Curiosity ignited within her. What was this awakening? What revelation awaited her just out of sight? She cautiously pressed forward, branches snapping gently beneath her feet. With each step, doubt began to dissolve, replaced by a growing conviction that this was where she needed to be. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing. The moon cast a silvery glow, illuminating a small, tranquil pool at its center. The water shimmered, reflecting the stars above in a way that made the world feel enchanted. Mary felt an urge to kneel beside the pool, drawn not only by its beauty but by the knowing that something profound awaited her there. Kneeling, she peered into the water, allowing her reflection to blend with the cosmos mirrored within. What do you want me to see, Lord? She whispered, her heart pounding with anticipation. In that moment, ripples disturbed the surface, and images began to form. She saw her village, a place filled with vibrant life, laughter, and love. Then, shadows crept in, darkening the joy. But as the shadows thickened, they began to shift, revealing the faces of her community uniting in prayer. They're finding strength in the midst of despair, she breathed, tears welling in her eyes. The essence of unity washed over her. She saw familiar faces, each one lit with the flame of hope ignited by her call to faith, but then, a new image emerged, stark against the brightness. The great shadows of uncertainty loomed larger. Mary felt a shiver, the implications rolling through her like thunder. This is not just about us. She sensed a greater struggle afoot, one that wasn't confined to their village alone. The images were shifting again, swirling into the darkness. It felt as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for the moment to break free from despair. Is this our battle to face? Are we not just fighting for ourselves? She pondered aloud, sensing the weight of responsibility pressing against her chest. Be steadfast, Mary. A gentle voice echoed, rallying her resolve. You have been chosen to guide, to lead others in this divine awakening. The emotions surged within her, a potent cocktail of anxiety and excitement. The tension was undeniable, but alongside it flowed an unshakable assurance. God was calling them not just to survive, but to thrive, to be agents of transformation. With renewed purpose, Mary gazed into the pool again, a powerful wave of understanding washing over her. She glimpsed the heart of her community forging a path into the light, illuminated by faith. It was a vision that stretched far beyond what she could see, a ripple that could affect the whole world. As she stood, empowered and emboldened, the voice in her heart whispered a promise: prepare, for the shadows may surge, but remember, faith in unity can withstand the fiercest storms. Taking a deep breath, she turned back towards the path that led to her village. The shadows might still be prowling, but now she bore within her a beacon of light. Fueled by a newfound belief, she felt every step heavy with purpose. However, just as she started to make her way back, a sudden rustling behind her sent a chill up her spine. Was it her imagination, or were the shadows now watching? With a pulsing heart and a hint of fear coiling in her stomach, she halted, sensing she was not alone. What awaited her in the depths of the darkness? Would the shadows press in like a fierce tide, or would God's light shine through them? Only the forest held the answers, and she was ready to discover what awaited beyond the veil. Mary stood still, her heart racing as she strained to listen. The forest, now more alive than ever, seemed to pulse around her. The rustling sound grew louder, more familiar, as if calling out to her. She took a tentative step backward, away from the unknown lurking in the shadows. "Who's there?" she called, finding strength in her voice. The forest grew silent, a thick blanket of anticipation wrapped around her. Then, breaking that silence, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was an old man, his hair white like the clouds above, his eyes sparkling like stars. He seemed to glide rather than walk, his presence radiating a gentle warmth that made Mary's fear dissipate. "Do not fear, child," he said softly. "I am Elias, a keeper of the ways in this sacred forest." Mary felt an instant connection with Elias, as if he understood her in ways she hadn't yet discovered herself. "Elias," she began, "I've seen visions in the water. I know something greater is at stake, something that reaches beyond my village." Elias nodded, his gaze steady. "The ripples of faith you felt are spreading, my dear. You aren't just standing on the threshold of your journey, you are part of something far larger. Every prayer, every moment of unity, that energy is powerful. It draws both light and shadow." Mary contemplated his words. "But how do I lead my people? How do I guide them when the darkness feels overwhelming?" Doubt crept in, shadows gnawing at her confidence. "The first step is belief, Mary. You must believe in what your heart has seen. Trust that the light you cultivate will flourish even in the darkest nights. The waves of doubt and despair might come, but your faith will be the rock upon which many will stand." In that moment, the clearing transformed, a soft glow illuminated the trees, casting away the remnants of night. Mary gasped as flowers bloomed around the pool, vibrant and alive, vibrant hues dancing in harmonious unison as the moonlight kissed their petals. "Miracles are often disguised as obstacles," Elias said, taking a seat on a large stone nearby. "Fear not the shadows, for they are merely the contrast that brings your light into sharper focus." Mary knelt by the pool again, feeling the pulse of faith surge within her. "But what if I fail? What if I can't protect them?" Elias smiled gently. "Failure is but a shadow on the path of growth. Your heart has been touched, that is enough. Your courage to stand amid uncertainty is where divine revelations unfold. Listen to your heart, Mary, guide your community with an unwavering spirit of love and compassion." As she absorbed his words, she recalled the faces of her friends, those who prayed, those who struggled. A fire ignited within her soul. Suddenly, she felt a shift, a pouring in of divine purpose that was as sweet as honey. I will not shy away from the shadows, she declared firmly. Faith will be our shield. Elias nodded, an approving smile gracing his lips. That is the spirit, steadfast one. Remember, it is in unity that true strength thrives. As you gather your community in prayer, miracles will unfold before your very eyes. Feeling emboldened, Mary stood, her feet firm upon the earth as a newfound purpose coursed through her veins. Thank you, Elias. I will share this message, ignite the hearts of those I love. As she turned to leave, Elias raised a hand gently, the air shimmering around him. Before you go, take this vision with you, a glimpse of what can be. Look into the waters once more. The future is waiting for your faith to illuminate it. Kneeling again by the pool, Mary peered into the rippling surface. The water responded, swirling to reveal a scene that took her breath away. She saw her village transformed, a radiant tapestry of love and faith woven together, each individual a thread of purpose. But then, one shadow loomed, darker than before, a threat closing in, faltering only when confronted by the light of the united, praying community. Stand strong and be steadfast. Elias urged, his voice a gentle breeze brushing her cheek. The time for awakening is near, and it is your faith that will break the chains of despair once and for all. With her heart aflame, Mary stood once more, understanding that an epic battle of shadows against light was not distant but imminent. Were they ready to face what lay ahead? Would their commitment sustain the harshest tests? She took a deep breath, fortified by the divine whispers and the promise of unity. The path was unclear, but her heart was resolute. As she stepped toward the forest's edge, she felt the weight of her calling begin to settle in. Vast and relentless, what awaited her in the shadows? Would her belief be enough to light the path through uncertainty, or would she find herself engulfed in darkness? Only time would reveal the power of a community united in faith. The sun hung low over Whittle, casting a glorious golden hue that mingled with the shadows stretching across the village. Mary stood at the helm of a pivotal moment, her heart swelling with anticipation. She felt the weight of her journey, the prayers woven together in unity, and the impending challenge that loomed just beyond their horizon. As the villagers gathered once more, their faces mirrored the dawning hope within Mary. Together, they formed a mosaic of belief, each person a brushstroke in God's grand design. She stepped forward, her spirit brimming with divine fire. Friends, we have seen our light. But shadows still hover. It is time we stand together, our faith resilient against the darkness that lurks. Not a single soul wavered, they echoed her words in affirmations, heartbeats synchronizing with a rhythm of unity. Mary felt their spirits intertwining, building a powerful wave of faith. Tonight, we pray. And through our prayers, we shall prepare for battle, she declared, her unwavering resolve igniting a fire in the hearts of her community. We shall lift every worry into the hands of God, trusting that together we can break the chains of despair. As she led them into prayer, a palpable energy emanated from the village square, a divine presence wrapping around them, lifting every burden into the celestial realm. During the fervent prayers, doubts began to shift like clouds, parting to reveal glimpses of hope. Mary felt the fabric of their unity strengthen, each supplication a thread binding them closer together. Just as the fervor enveloped them, the ground trembled again. Mary opened her eyes as fear clawed at some hearts, but she remained resolute. Stand firm, she urged, her voice cutting through uncertainty. We are not alone. We face these shadows with the shield of our faith and the sword of unity. The energy among them intensified. The cries for strength and guidance rose like incense before the throne of God. As they prayed, the sky began to change, dark clouds parting to reveal a multitude of stars twinkling, reminders of promises and hope. Then, a sound pierced through the gathering, the rustling of leaves, sudden and raw. From the tree-lean stepped forth Elias, the keeper of the forest. His presence radiated a calm certainty that quelled the anxious murmurs rippling through the crowd. Mary, he called, his voice clear and commanding. The divine spirit is strengthened by your unity. The shadows threaten, but your faith will illuminate their darkness. Mary's heart thumped in tune with his words, a surge of strength coursing through her veins. We will stand firm. She echoed, her heart echoing Elias' conviction. Together, we shall face whatever comes our way. But as if in response, a chilling wind swept through the village. The shadows on the edge of the forest began to shift, coiling like oily tendrils threatening to encroach on their sacred space. Fear danced on the faces around her, but Mary knew this was part of their sacred journey. Light dispels darkness, she said, affirming the truth that breathes through her spirit. Let us produce light that shines brightly together. Mary led them in a chant, their voices intertwining like tendrils of golden smoke, rising higher into the night. A wave of light pulsed from the center of their gathering, rich and warm, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. The air thickened with divine energy, whispers of hope carried through the masses as the light grew stronger. See how our faith shakes the firmament. Elias shouted, joining their voices, an ancient power radiating from him, reinforcing their resolve. Suddenly, the shadows answered with a fierce roar, crashing back, but the villagers stood resolute, hearts intertwined like vines. An iridescent glow emerged from the collective, illuminating the path before them. Mary felt a surge so powerful it left her breathless, a shift rising from the depths of unity, transforming fear into faith. Then, as if scripted by divine guidance, bursts of light exploded from the onlookers, converging toward the edges of the forest, creating a radiant barrier that held the darkness back. Those who had once been wary now stood boldly, emboldened by their newfound faith. Together with love, we shall conquer. Mary shouted. The sound filled the air, shaking the doubts lingering in their hearts. Every voice joined together, singing praises and lifting the momentum, an undeniable symphony of faith echoing through the night. As dawn broke, the shadows retreated, swept away by their unwavering belief. In that moment, Mary felt tears streaming down her face, not tears of sorrow but of pure, unrestrained joy. They had faced the darkness together and emerged purified. This is just the beginning, she proclaimed, looking into the radiant faces of her beloved friends. We are no longer simply a village, we are a community rooted in faith. Together, we carry the light forward. Cheers erupted, bathing them in warmth, as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, signifying not just a new day, but a new beginning. They had embraced their miracles, the small, the large, and everything in between. They stepped into the dawn side by side, hand in hand, prepared to reveal their blessings to the world. Now, dear friends, this story of divine unity and unwavering faith must inspire you too. You need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't wait even one more second to see more exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread these divine messages far and wide. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending, and most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and faith. Together, let us ignite the world with love.